Good. How we doing, guys?
Howdy.
Howdy. I feel like I just saw everybody.
Right.
Can't be anything left to ask.
Get used to that. You're gonna be like this for a while now.
We can come up with questions all day long.
There you go. How we doing? All right, we good? Okay, good. Just thanks for coming. Recapping the game the other night, obviously, like I said after the game, I thought it was a really good start for our program. The atmosphere was really good. Awesome turnout from our students. Still very appreciative of that. And, I just really happy with how we started the game. I thought both sides of the ball were ready to go. I thought we started fast. I thought the execution in the early part of the game was really good. And to get out to the lead that we got out to 24-0 at halftime, I thought was really good. Wish we'd have finished better. Wish we'd have kind of continued the level of execution that we had in the first half through the second half, but certainly that gives us something to build on heading into next week. And, some individual performances that stood out. I thought Shaka Hayward played really well at the linebacker position. He was our defensive player of the week. Really happy with Dwayne Carter and what he did up front. He was our defensive lineman of the week. Offensively, obviously, Riley Leonard, for him to play the way he did and start the way he did in his first game as a starter, was really special, I thought, and really happy with how he executed the passing game. Thought Mo McIntyre had a really good game. He was our offensive lineman of the week. And then Ryan Smith is a kid I'd just like to mention because he's one of those unsung heroes. So he was our special teams player of the week. And so Ryan, got moved to defensive end, has really embraced it, has improved at that position tremendously, has gotten in a position where he can give us some depth at defensive end, but really has become a core special teams guy for us. And so, did a lot of really nice things, made a big-time play on kickoff, did a really nice job on punt, and just really happy with what he's doing. It's one of those guys that doesn't get mentioned who's really adding a lot of value to our program, and so very happy for him to go out and play the way that he did. And then, like I told our guys, it's on to next week. We didn't come here just to win a game. We're here to build a program, and now we've got to take our show on the road and go up to Big Ten country and play a really talented Northwestern football team. Obviously got a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Fitzgerald and the job that he does. I've known Pat for a long time. We used to go over and work his camps when I was at Bowling Green, and so he was a guy that I always kind of modeled after and thought did an amazing job running a program. And so to kind of go toe-to-toe with him this week, that'll be a really unique opportunity for our program to kind of see if we can take it to the next level. I think they're an extremely physical football team. You would expect that from a Big Ten team. They got a lot of experience. If you look at their offense, they got 8 starters back. They got a lot of experience up front. They're a big physical team. They did a really good job running the football against Nebraska. They have 3 running backs who I think are really, really talented. It'll probably be one of the better core group of running backs that we see this year. I think they're really good. Ryan Helinski, I feel like he's been playing for a long time. I played against him when I was at Texas A&M when he was a young kid, but you've seen a much higher level of maturity from him. Threw the ball around really well against Nebraska, and they've got some talent outside at wide receiver, and so there'll be a challenge for us defensively for sure. And then defensively, Jim O'Neill's a guy who I've known him for a really long time. I think his second year as the defensive coordinator, you're seeing that group be a lot more comfortable with what they're doing. I think they're playing the system a lot faster, and so they were able to make a lot of stops against Nebraska and put themselves in position to be very successful. I think they got a really talented secondary. I think they're going to be a challenge for us to get open on, and then they're a big physical front four, and so we're going to have a much different type of matchup. It's a much different scheme in terms of what they do up front, and so it's going to be a challenge for our guys, but we're looking forward to it and go up there next week and put our best show forward and see what happens. So, questions?
You mentioned Shaka Hayward and Dwayne Carter for standing out on defense. As you look to the film, what in addition to them, what stood out? What made the defense so successful?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we executed well. I thought we tackled well. And when you go into an opener, those are going to be the two things that kill you, right? And if you don't play well in an opening football game, you're going to come back and see a lot of missed tackles and a lot of guys not on the same page. And so I was happy with the way we communicated. I was happy with the way we tackled. I thought we controlled the line of scrimmage. I still think, all of those things can still take another level. I think that's the challenge week 1 to week 2. I still think there's room to grow and get better, but was really happy with how we started.
Going back to Northwestern, we all watched the Northwestern Nebraska game. One of the things that stood out was how balanced they are on offense. They can run, They can pass, they can go up the middle and take the edge. What kind of challenge does that present to you, and how do you meet that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, just that they can do a lot of things. And so, you've got to be able to be multiple in how you attack them. You've got to be able to take away the run at times without making yourself susceptible on the outside to the throw game. And so that'll be a little bit of the cat and mouse game is, how do we make sure the running backs don't hurt us, but also make sure we don't expose our secondary and put them into bad situations. And so anytime you see a team that's balanced, that obviously presents the biggest problems to you as a defensive coordinator, because that you have to be able to play that cat and mouse game well.
Along the lines of tackling well, it didn't seem like you guys went live all that much more than normal in fall camp. So is that more of a technique and teaching point that happened over 3 weeks that allowed you to come out and tackle well?
Yeah, I would probably say we did go live more than I'm used to. We did have periods. We did have drill work. A lot of people get scared tackling one-on-one in training camp, and we did it. We felt like our runners and receivers had to learn how to make people miss, and we felt like our second and third level had to learn how to tackle in space. And then I think you have to get creative with the way the rules have changed. You only get full pads 8 times, and so you've got to get your guys to buy into learning how to tackle without tackling, right? And so some of that is, individual work. You see us doing a lot of stuff with the donut tackled rings and different footwork things. But then even when you get into periods where you're not tackling, there's a certain body position that you demand they get into on the finish, because it's the position that you or I can finish the tackle from, right? If they can get into that body position, they should be able to finish it. And so, even in periods where we're doing 7-on-7 and no one's going to the ground, there's still a level of coaching that goes into tackling that we're really trying to emphasize. And so, that's something I think we've just had to evolve to as we pulled the pads off more, as we've had to tackle less, as we've had to be a little bit more protective through fall camp.
There's always some kind of hindsight that a coach may have looking back at the preparation for a game, but with how much success you guys had in this last game against Temple, what do you feel like you guys did really well in terms of preparation that prepared you to have so much success?
Yeah, I thought our kids just really bought into the plan and the preparation. I think we talked a lot. Like one of the mistakes kids make going into the opener is you envision the results, right? Like you go to bed and you dream about making that touchdown and what the celebration dance is going to look like. You envision the sack and what you're going to do after you get the sack, but you don't spend a lot of time thinking about the level of execution it takes to score the touchdown or get the sack. And we really challenged them to embrace that part of it, right? Spend your time thinking about the plan. Spend your time thinking about the details and the execution that you're going to need to go out and get the result that you want. And then at the end of the day, you'll look up and you'll have the result that you want. And so I thought our kids bought into that really well.
Along those lines, on first glance, it would seem like very little could have gone better. In a lot of ways, but I know coaches look at film and see a long line of everything.
Yes, I do.
So how do you balance that message to the guys of feeling good and, like I said, it went great, but there's all those things that could go better for week 2?
Yeah, this is what I told them. Successful people in life want to know what they did wrong. That's just what brings success to people, to programs, to organizations. I don't need someone to wake up in the morning and tell me what I did well. I need them to tell me the 3 things I can get better at, because that's how I get better tomorrow. And I told them, I said, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how you played. I'm proud of the result. But you don't need to hear any more than that. You should have confidence. You've worked extremely hard. You should be aware that we have another game to play. We're all in this thing and we all understand what we're doing. Focus on the things that you can improve. Focus on the things you did right so you can repeat them, but then focus on the things that you can improve, and that's how we'll grow as an organization. And so, that's just kind of our mindset going into every week is there's going to be a handful of plays every week, and they're either going to be the things we better fix or we're going to lose next week, or they're going to be the reasons why we lost. And so identify those things and try to clean them up and get better at them.
What goes into coming up with your own road routine as a coach? I imagine you've learned a lot from people you've worked under, and you've probably developed your own. And is there anything unique about it?
Yeah, I think, that's part of the journey for me. I was able to spend a lot of time, with Dave and how we did things at Wake Forest, and then you go to Notre Dame, and that's a whole different way to do your game weekend operation. And then Texas A&M was a completely different. And so, I was able, I think, to draw the things that I liked about each of those, or some ideas that popped into your head while you were going through those weekends to say, okay, hey, I think I can do it this way, and I might enjoy that a little bit, and so you just kind of build those weekend itineraries off of past experience, and then feel really good about them going in, and then obviously constantly evaluate what you're doing every weekend to make sure you feel good about it when it's over.
Any like specific things you've implemented, even if it's like something, I don't know, like, hey, we're gonna have this certain breakfast at this time, we're gonna eat this. I mean, is there anything along those lines that stand out?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we try to do is we eat pregame meal is the last thing we do before we leave the hotel. That's something that I think is maybe a little bit different, because I think there's a traditional wisdom that you eat 4 hours before kickoff. That puts you in the fourth quarter 7 hours from your last meal, and so we kind of eat the meal a little bit closer to when we leave the hotel. But everyone has those little nuances to their trips, but that would be probably one of the things that we do that's a little bit unique.
Back to Northwestern, I'm pretty sure they didn't allow any sacks against Nebraska. I assume getting Helinski's jersey dirty is a priority going in the game. Can you talk a little bit about what Duke has to do to get some sacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always a priority. I think you have to disrupt the quarterback, and it's not sacks. Like, we talk to our guys about that all the time. Sacks are obviously good, and they're the end result of it all, but, you could sack the quarterback twice and not impact them on 38 other plays, and not help yourself win. You can sack them 0 times and impact them on 20 plays and win a football game. And so we have to impact him. That's hands in throwing windows. That's reducing the pocket. Hopefully it leads to sacks. But it's really like we have a controlled mindset of how we're going to affect the quarterback. And that's something to me that's really important.
Did your team meet that standard against Mathis Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we did a good job. It could be better. I think it'll always have the ability to improve for sure. But, certainly we batted some balls down. I thought we got some hand in some passing windows and made it harder for him to throw around. We sacked him a couple times. So I thought we did a good job with it.
Coach, you had 30 points this game. Last year, there were only 2 games where the Duke squad was able to score 30 points or more. You also got a shutout this week. Do you have more appreciation for the fact that the offense was able to score 30 points, or the defense was able to secure a shutout?
I have appreciation for the fact that I told Nina in my interview that we were going to score points and stop people, and that defensive coordinators didn't have to pick one or the other, and she actually believed me, so I appreciate her for that. But no, that's our goal. Like, we want to score points and we want to stop people, and we don't try to play the game one way or the other. We allow our offense to go out and do the things that they think they're capable of doing to have success. Obviously, defensively, we want to set up a system that can stop people. And then as the game goes on, I think you saw it, like we started to manage the clock. We got a big lead. You started to manage the clock a little bit. We started to reduce the possessions left in the game because we wanted to put ourselves in the best position to win. But certainly we want to try to score as many points as we can.
Coach, Tom Shanahan from the News and Observer. I'm doing a story on the challenges of keeping local kids at home, and I'm just wondering how that's working for you. Recruiting is nationally more than it's ever been, and now you're in a new situation as a head coach. I wonder how you're approaching that.
Yeah, I mean, we always want to have an inside-out approach to recruiting. I think that's really important. I think you want to identify as many players close to home that can help your program as you possibly can because they're the easiest ones to recruit. They have the most access to get on campus. You can get around their families the most. You can visit with them the most. And you can know a lot more about them than you can kids from further away. And so you always want to start inside out. I think one of the things, though, that has happened over the years is recruiting has become so national because social media, because of the way we can get access to film. I mean, I can sit at my desk and watch a game film of any high school in the country right now, and that's new in the last 10 years, and so I think you have a lot of knowledge now about the entire country and the recruiting landscape across the entire country, and so you're always trying to balance doing right by your local area, doing right by your home state with building the best program that you possibly can and not lowering your standards, and so I think that's a balance as a coach you're always trying to keep.
And when you got here, you kept 2 kids. You had to kind of re-recruit them, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
It kind of goes. It's funny. So VJ and Jake, it goes in line with what I just said because those were 2 of the guys that I actually got to meet before signing day, because when I came in here on Sunday, they were able to drive over here, and so I got a chance to spend some time with Jake and his family. I got a chance to spend time with VJ and his family. There was only a couple people that I could do that with, and that was because they were local, and so some of the kids that signed from out of state, I didn't meet until January. Was the first time I actually got to meet them face to face, and so I think it plays a role in trying to add and get those guys.
Mike, if you had a more veteran team or your program further down the line, would you have tackled less in camp? Because the reason I asked this is Dave Doran, with a veteran team, didn't practice enough in camp, and it kind of cost him the first game. He said, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, Dave's going to run his program, and I certainly don't want to compare or anything like that. But yeah, in my opinion, and I say this to our guys all the time, like, to get better at football, you have to play football. And obviously there's always risk, and you're always afraid of injury. But I think sometimes being afraid of injury can not get your team ready in the way that you want them to. And so just philosophically, that's just always something I've believed, that football is a game that you have to play to get better at. And we always are smart about it. I think that's one of the things, and I'm sure Dave's the same, like you always want to be as smart as you possibly can, because if you have a talented, experienced team, you want to get them to the fight, and you want to be healthy in the opener, and you certainly would kick yourself if you lost one of your better players in training camp. So it's a balance that you're always working for sure.
You mentioned thinking it's going to be a challenge to get open against Northwestern's DBs, and the receiver position came under a microscope in the last week or so of fall camp. How well did they do against Temple, and kind of film study and how they got open?
Yeah, I thought we did a good job. I thought we got released. I thought we got open. I do think there were some opportunities to make some contested catches later in the game that we didn't come down with. I'd like to see us improve that a little bit. But I thought we did a good job, and I thought Riley did a good job delivering the ball on time. I think that was the key to the passing game is timing, and so we were able to come open, and then as we came open, the ball was coming on time. I think some of the struggles we had early on in camp with the passing game was just timing. We just weren't in rhythm the way we wanted to be, which just kind of throws the whole thing out of whack. And so I thought we had good rhythm and timing with our game. I thought our guys caught the ball well. I thought we made some things happen after the catch, and so I thought, overall, really happy with what we did.
Last season, some of your experienced veteran guys played a game against Northwestern where just about anything that could have happened did happen. Are you guys looking back at that at all, seeing what Coach Fitzgerald was throwing at them? Or
No, honestly, no. Obviously, we've watched the game and kind of studied the matchup, and you just try to get a feel for philosophically what they thought of us and what they tried to do to us and see how it applies. But, it's part of living in the now that we talk about is just, every game has its own mindset. I told the guys this morning, I said, last year we lost our opener and we beat Northwestern. This year we won our opener and has zero impact on what we do against Northwestern. It's each individual entity, and we've got to go out, we've got to prepare, we've got to have a great Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we've got to go out and execute on Saturday, and that's how we'll win. And if we don't do any of those things, we won't have a chance.
Going back a little bit with Pat Fitzgerald, modeling the program a little bit after his, can you elaborate on how you've done that and why you've done that?
Yeah, I don't know that I modeled it after him. It just was something that you kind of studied, right? Like Pat built the program at Northwestern. They were having more success than Northwestern was used to having. There was a certain element of toughness that was built into that program. Obviously, Pat was a defensive guy, and so as a defensive coordinator, that was something we were always clinging to, defensive guys that were having success. And so, I don't want to say that I know the intricacies of what he was doing, because I don't have that knowledge, but certainly it was something from afar that you look closely at.
Mike, how concerned are you with your pitching game right now?
Yeah, it'd be naive to say not a little bit concerned. Hopefully it was a one night mistake. I've seen Charlie through spring. I've seen Charlie through fall. He's been extremely consistent, and he was 22 of 23 kicking for us in fall camp in competitive situations. He stretched back to 53 yards all the way through training camp, and so I've got a lot of confidence in Charlie. I think he knows, and we all know, we've got to kick the ball better, and I fully expect him to do that this week.
You said that you wanted after that first win to move on immediately and look for the next game. You didn't come here just to win one game, but has the Cloud 9 aspect kind of worn off yet? The feeling that, hey, I won my first game?
Cloud 9 was over in the third quarter. I think about midway through the third quarter, we were coaching hard and we were trying to make sure that our kids didn't slack off. And, I think there was always an eye to what was next. I think, I don't know, that's just kind of how I'm wired, and that's how I want this program to be wired. We want to accomplish things, but we don't ever want to stop accomplishing things. And so, it was great to win a game. It was a great night. I certainly soaked it all in. I don't want it to sound like I didn't, and certainly very appreciative for everything that went down and what happened that night. But again, it's just on to the next. It's time for the next game.
Offensive line play with Andre playing his first game with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought we played solid. I think, we thought their front was good. We thought that was probably the strongest part of their defense was their front. I thought we were able to keep a very clean pocket most of the night. We were able to establish some running game. I thought the passing game allowed us to establish some running game, which is kind of what we thought would have to happen in the game. But I also think, I think across the board, there's a level of physicality on both sides of the ball that we can still achieve. And I think offensively, I think up front, we can be more physical than we were in that game. And, that's our challenge to our guys this week is to turn that up even a couple more levels.
I want to ask you an ACC broader question. When we were in Charlotte, there were a lot of questions about what can the league do to help its prospects in the future. And a lot of the coaches were kind of like, look, I just coach football, and you worry about what's on the field, and that can help the product, right? The league won its marquee non-conference games this week. You guys have one, I think Pitt and Tennessee. There's a series of these games coming up in September. How much can the ACC maybe help itself with these types of games in this month coming up?
Yeah, I mean, we have to win football games. I mean, nobody's shying away from that. I mean, it's a competitive market. It's a competitive landscape in college football. But we also are very quick to pull the panic button on things like this and overreact. We weren't gone coming into the season, and we certainly haven't re-arrived after week one. We're a very strong football conference. We have very strong football brands. It's not that long ago that we were having multiple teams in the playoff contention. It'll be that way again. It's a very cyclical system. There was a time when everyone wanted to break up the SEC East because it was so lopsided, and all the teams in the SEC East were the good ones. And how can the league be like that? We've got to flip it. Right, and now it's the exact opposite, right? And the last time I was in this league, we had the same amount of draft picks as the SEC. When I left in 2016, we were right on par with them. It'll cycle back to that. It's a very cyclical sport, and obviously, the way media works nowadays, and no disrespect to you guys, but everything has to just be a story, and so we want to kind of overdo things or over lean on things. ACC football is very good, and we'll be fine. Oh, I haven't thought about the new playoff expansion. It's great. I mean, 12 teams gives us a better shot of getting in for sure. But no, I mean, it's good. I think everybody kind of knew it was coming. It just was a matter of when was the right time going to be and when was the right opportunity. I certainly hope that the bowl games stay intact. I think that's still a big piece of college football and the tradition of college football. And so I just hope as we go through the process of expansion, we don't lose sight of that for the student athletes.
Riley running the football like he was Friday night, is there an opportunity where you don't want him to stretch for that extra yard or two and get down?
Yeah, so I'm chuckling because Riley and I had a really long conversation about this yesterday. Early in the game, there was a 3rd and 5 where Riley went out and made it 4th and 1. And I was a little bit frustrated because I felt like he could have made a different cut and give us an opportunity to get the first down. I think he took that the rest of the night and tried to get every extra yard he possibly could, and there was probably about 7 other times where I wish he would have slid and not tried to get the extra yards. So him and I had a very long conversation yesterday, watched some film together, kind of got on the same page with what we were looking for and what we were talking about. But no, you want him, like there's certain times in the framework of the game where your quarterback has to be tough and he has to get you that yard that you need, but certainly we don't want him taking extra hits when it's not necessary. Good. All right, thanks guys.
Thanks, Coach. That's fine. Thanks.